In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 effects of being raised by a narcissist mother. 5 top ones that I believe we can all relate to. And then I'm going to give you some tools to help you unravel those effects so you can feel safe in the world. I'm Carol Rathel, occupational therapist, and this channel is about healing with self-love, because self-love is the most important thing to do. Number 1. Children learn to be a people pleaser and they grow into adults who please the people around them, even if they are sacrificing their own needs. I learned early on that my opinion didn't matter, and it was unacceptable to express it. I was yelled at and punished for answering back, even if I was right. So I learned early to keep the peace. I learned that keeping the peace and doing as I was told, even if I was being punished for a lie, was the way to be safe. I spent 50 years of my life trying to please my mother. I cannot believe it, but I did. I would share my achievements from school, and instead of getting well done, I got sneery comments. Is sneery a word? That they, the teachers, must have made a mistake. I was so desperate to please my mother just to get one word of praise, but it never came. I have to share this story with you because it really shows what I'm talking about. Because I learned to keep my head down and stay out of the way of my mother most of the time, I used to shut myself in my room and read comic books. Being of an artistic, visual nature, I enjoyed the images that went with the words, and as it turned out, I have a powerful ability to tell a story in my art. At about the age of 13, when we had all those intelligence tests in New Zealand, was when I started at what we call high school. I learned that I had a well above average IQ. My parents and I attended a meeting to discuss me going into an advanced placement class, which meant I did 4 years of schooling in 3. My mother laughed and said she was surprised that I was intelligent because she thought I was backward because all I did was read comics. I was completely humiliated. The teacher didn't know what to say. And from that moment, something inside me woke up and decided to prove her wrong. So when I shared my high exam results with her, was she impressed? No. If I got 75% in the exam, she said I could have done better. She continually put down my accomplishments, and I tried even harder for one "well done, Carol." It never came. Going along and not standing up for ourselves to please others means we abandon who we really are and grow into an adult who can easily be preyed on by predators. They control and manipulate us because we want to please them, and we become vulnerable to other narcissists. Number 2, children learn that who they are is unlovable and develop a strong sense of shame of themselves. Extend that into adulthood, and it affects our ability to let the world see who we really are in the workplace, socially, on the sports field, anywhere where we are, we hide our true self. I felt like I was an imposter when I did well at anything. I also took into adulthood a very strong self-limiting belief that if anyone really knew me, they would not like me. Can anyone relate? Comment below if you did this too. By the way, please do not put down in the comments what cruelty has been done to you by a narcissist, because there are words that will trigger the censorship filter, and I don't want my channel taken down. So please help me look after this channel and keep out the violent words. And while you're thinking about this, please hit the like button now so that YouTube shares this video with as many people as possible who need to hear this message. When we carry a sense of shame about who we are, We miss out on the fullness of life and tend to observe it from around the edges. We avoid being a part of things. We avoid showing the world who we really are because we believe we are bad. And this, of course, also makes us easy targets for the narcissists and psychopaths who are going to reflect back to us our belief about who we are. Shame is a very destructive emotion to have in any aspect of our life. In the workplace, both my sister and I shared with each other recently that if we ever made a mistake at work, no matter how small, we were devastated by doing something wrong, and we beat up on ourselves for weeks. Of course, I know that mistakes are a part of learning. I know that now. But back then, it was devastating and led to many periods of depression. Number 3, children of narcissists grow into adults who don't know how to set healthy boundaries. In fact, usually they don't know what boundaries are. Narcissists override boundaries of their children and don't allow them to have any from very young. They show no respect towards their children's privacy or towards how the children feel. If they're having a conversation in which the child is present, they will tell the most embarrassing stories, which can really hurt. Not having boundaries or not keeping boundaries leads to an adult who lets somebody do anything to them. So I found myself having experiences with people who I didn't even like because I didn't know how to say no. Saying no was not in my vocabulary. Number 4 on the list is dissociation. Dissociation is a way to avoid being present in the body to experience life. We can dissociate by going off into a daydream, and we are literally living in that fantasy, not paying any attention to what is going on to our body. I remember that as a child, I bumped into doorways a lot. As an adult, I did the same thing and had bruises on both of my shoulders to testify to the number of times I wasn't in my body. It still happens, by the way. Not as much as it did, but I confess I still do it. Dissociating can also affect our ability to learn in school or perform well in the work environment. I could sit in ward meetings at a hospital and the doctors or nurses would ask my opinion about something they had just been discussing, and I couldn't answer them. I went beetroot red and had to say, sorry, I missed the last bit. What are we talking about? It was so embarrassing. That type of thing was extremely stressful for me in that workplace. I felt so humiliated, to the extent that I began to fear going to work. My stress would make me ill, and I took many sick days off work so I could spend time sitting in my safe place, which was on my bed, reading books where I was safe. It is so important that we are in our body most of the time because we need to be present to respond to danger and just to be able to function in our world, in our workplace, in our home. Another way we can dissociate is by using addictions. I had several, and by being drunk or a little bit stoned or even eating as an addiction. And of course we know that there are many addictions that are very harmful. Addictions are telling us that there is something unhealed in us. Number 5, being raised by a narcissist can lead to severe illness later in life. I don't know how many you know of Dr. Hashimoto, a Japanese researcher. He would look at frozen water crystals under a microscope after some powerful meditators had sent emotions into the vial of water from where the crystals came. Some sent love, some sent gratitude, and some even sent hate. And as you can see in the images I'm showing you, look how beautiful the ones that are infused with the love energy are. And the ones that receive hate are so contorted and ugly. We are over 80% water in our bodies. When we have spent a lifetime thinking we are unlovable, criticizing ourselves for doing things wrong, or hating ourselves for the things we do or we don't do, we are sending that hate energy into the waters of our body. Think about this. If our water molecules are constantly being hated, what is that going to do with our health? The effects of being raised by a narcissist and living in a world where we hate ourselves can lead to autoimmune disorders that gradually will create illness in the body. Fibromyalgia is very common, chronic fatigue syndrome, autoimmune disorders like hypothyroidism, arthritis, even heart disease can now be traced back to trauma in childhood. The medical system recognizes this now. So please choose to change the script you are running about yourself now, and see yourself as a precious creation who deserves your love. We'll come back to this when I give you the tips for unravelling the damage. The scars of being raised by a narcissist will always be there. However, it is up to us to choose whether they're going to remain scars that are not fully healed, that cover over wounds that are still active, or whether they're going to be scars over wounds that have been healed. So let's look at what you can do to recover from the damage of being raised by a narcissist. Number 1, being a people pleaser. With a journal or with some paper, write down the names of the people in your life now who you know that you abandon your own needs to please them. It might be you giving time that you don't really have, or resources like money that you can't really afford to give. Or it might be going along with what somebody wants you to believe and you feel you can't agree with them, but you go along to please them and keep the peace. Write those down. And then spend some time thinking about how you would really like to respond that would respect your own viewpoint and your own needs. And then imagine yourself doing that, of saying that something different to those people. For example, if somebody keeps borrowing money off you and they never give it back to you, maybe you can picture yourself saying, "No, I can't loan you that money. My resources are stretched right now and I need to recover my financial situation. So I'm not going to be loaning you any more money. You need to find a way to sort this out yourself." They will try and try to change your mind, but just stay firm and say no. Number 2 effect, children learn that who they are is unlovable and develop the shame. Write down a statement. It could be like this: I am a beautiful creation and the world needs what I have the ability to share. Write that down. And then underneath, write a list of, say, 5 or 6 things that you do in your unique way that you're really good at. It could be your compassion. It could be you are really good at art. It could be that you're really good at helping people work through their issues and come to a solution that they can go and fix their problems. And then catch yourself. Every time you have a negative thought about yourself, repeat that mantra and remind yourself of those things that you're really good at. In time, you keep repeating it, and your brain will switch over to that new belief system, and it can override any shame. And number 3, children of narcissists grow into adults who don't know how to set boundaries. Write down situations or people where you feel that you're being walked over, where there's no boundaries. Now, a boundary is where you draw a line in the sand and you say, this is how far it goes and no further. So it could be somebody who wants to use your time. Usually a narcissist will do this, want to complain about the people in their life who've hurt them, and they go on and on about it, and it just brings you down. Learn how to say no. Learn how to not be available. when you get called up or texted to ask to come over and you know what would happen, to say, sorry, I'm busy right now, maybe another day. At the workplace, if you've got a workmate who's getting you to do their job, learn to say no. You know what? That's not my job. I've helped you a lot and my work has suffered, so you need to do your own work from now on. It's time for me to look after my own needs at work and do what I need to do. Always make it about giving them back their power and setting your boundary about yourself. So you're not saying, you always use too much of my time and I'm not giving it to you anymore. It's saying, you know what, you need to do your job and I need to take care of mine and do my job really well. It's very hard to argue when somebody draws that sort of boundary. Now, dissociation, the number 4 on the list, about not being in your body. Just right now, while you're listening to me talk, close your eyes and just feel into your body. Wriggle your toes. Feel your toes wriggling. Now touch your arms with each hand. Feel what you're feeling. Place your hand on your heart. Feel it beating. You are now present in your body. So when you walk through a doorway and bump into it, an easy way to come back to your body really is to place a hand on your heart and breathe in and out. And just feel your breath going in and out. Feel your heart beating. Wriggle your toes a bit and you're back in your body. Do that as often as you can. And the 5th effect of being raised by a narcissist, illness later in life. Let's give the 80% of you, that is water, some love. Again, my favourite is to place a hand over my heart and just say, I love you. Repeat to yourself, in your mind or out loud, depending on your situation, I love myself, or use your name, and you are sending the message of love to your body. This does so much good for your body. You're changing the chemistry of your body. You're loving all those organs who've been stressed for so long. And catch yourself anytime you think anything negative about yourself. Catch it and do that, placing on your hand an I love you or I love myself. You will change your thought patterns. It doesn't take long. A couple of days can set the new habit and you will begin to unravel those very toxic chemicals in your body. We can always be triggered, but when we're mostly healed, we notice it, we can have a chuckle, wow, I got triggered then, and then we just get on with our life. But when the wounds are not healed, we can just put ourselves back into trauma again. So I really encourage you to make that choice to turn things around right now. Until the next video, I'm sending you love.